What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is The Flash, Season 3, Episode 10, Borrowing Problems from the Future. So, the setup for this is very, very interesting, in my opinion. I mean, you've got Barry is dealing with all of this stuff, and I'll admit, I do think it takes him a bit too long for him to say anything about what he saw. I mean, I understand you don't want to change the future, but then it's like, as soon as he tells them, all of that kind of goes out the window. He's like, we have to change the future. So, I don't know, if he wanted to change the future from the very beginning, in my opinion, he waited too long to say anything about it. You know, it's one thing to say he didn't want to say anything about what he saw because he was worried what that might affect. But as we clearly see after he tells everybody, they're doing everything they can to stop it. So it doesn't fit together in my opinion. However, the rest of it is really, really interesting. We see he and Cisco use Cisco's vibe powers to glimpse the scrolling news on the TV that he saw whenever he saw Iris's death. And so now they're going to use that, I guess, and probably for the rest of this season, they're going to use these headlines and try to change their outcome to see if they can change what happens. And I'm kind of curious to see if it's actually going to work. You know, like it seems to me like, what if these news stories aren't related to anything at all? You know, what if a couple of them are clearly related to our team? You know, Joe gets honored at Memorial Hall, Killer Frost returns somehow, and of course just the fact that S.T.A.R returns in general. You gotta wonder how some of these connect. You know, like, if they connect at all to S.T.A.R and his return and why he's going after Iris to try to get to Barry. You know, like, I'm curious to see how this is all going to lead to it. But above all, though, I think it's a good setup for the rest of the season. You know, it's not the most interesting as far as the action. It's not the most interesting as far as character development, but it is very good setup. You know, like, you have to have that episode that sort of sets up for the rest of the season if you're going to have a good story going forward. If you just sort of let it play out, sometimes you can lose interest of people. So I just like the fact that they said, okay, here's what it's going to be about, and this is it. You know, we've got the rest of the season planned out. And, you know, obviously the future is planned out. So going forward, that's what I'm excited to see most. But as far as this episode goes, just a couple things that did and didn't work for me. One of the things that didn't work for me was, I do think that Barry, obviously he apologizes for how he was acting, and he has a good reason for why he's acting so cruel to Wally and to kind of everybody around him. But in my opinion, it's just kind of out of character for Barry. You know, he's dealt with stuff like this before, and he's never turned into a complete asshole. You know, like, he's gotten hurt and he's sort of shut off people, but the way he treated Wally in this episode was beyond cruel. I've never seen him get like that before, and maybe this is a new side of him that we've never seen because Iris is involved, but it just didn't seem like something Barry would say, you know, to be completely harsh on him. The other thing that I didn't really connect with was, it felt like for most of the episode Cisco was being harsh to HR, which, unlike Barry, I have seen Cisco be that way to people before, so it wasn't out of character for him. And on top of that, we've kind of seen that Cisco and HR don't really get along, because where Cisco was managed to create kind of a bond between him and the other Harrison Wells, this one is not Cisco's type of person at all. Like, they don't connect. And so it's like he sees HR for the fraud he is, and he sees the fact that he's trying to be just like Harrison Wells, even though he's not. And so that kind of upsets him, and that makes sense. You know, I get why he's upset by that. But throughout most of this episode, they're doing that, he's being mean, he's not being nice to him. By the end of the episode, it's like they're best buds. And I don't think it would happen that quickly. You know, there's one scene where they're working on the machine to help him and Barry vibe to the future again. And in that one scene, we see HR's throwing himself a little pity party because the Star Labs museum thing didn't work out. And we see Cisco just, like, start telling him not to give up, you know, start saying, hey, don't let this get you down. I'm like, where's this coming from? Like, do you really just feel that sorry for him that you're going to all of a sudden be nice to him? It didn't seem right. It didn't seem like, I don't know, it felt like all of this tension that they've been building between Cisco and HR just left in a second, and now all of a sudden they're best friends. It's weird. But that's not to say I don't like HR. I do think it is interesting to see a different kind of Harrison Wells. He's not the super genius. He's not the guy who's going to help them solve their problems. But he presents a different way of looking at things that sometimes they don't even think about. Like the domino thing. They didn't come up with that. He actually came up with the idea that time travel was explained to him like domino effect. So maybe if you do pull out the right dominoes and then he knocks it over and that final domino doesn't fall, that's an interesting idea, and it takes somebody with his type of mind. He's not a genius in a scientific sense, but he is kind of a genius in an artistic sense, I guess. And so it does provide a different element to the team that I don't think we've had before. And hopefully they keep on using that because some people have complained about, oh, it's just another Harrison Wells. I think it is something different. He's a different character entirely. He's nothing like the other Harrison Wells we've had. So I do like him. I like what he brings to the team. Wally, I think, is becoming a bit better. I was upset with him for the first half of the season because it felt like every single time it felt like an episode would end with him saying, "You know what, Dad, you're right. I shouldn't be doing this." And then the next episode would pick up, and all of a sudden he's back to moping and pouting because he doesn't have powers. And it felt like every episode would end with him being okay, and then the next episode would be like, "Oh, he's not okay." And so it just felt like he was going back and forth, like, "Oh, I'm okay without powers. So I can't believe I don't have powers." And it's just like, pick a side. Are you going to be okay without powers, or are you going to be okay with powers, or what is your deal? I'm confused. And so now that he has powers, I figured he was gonna get a big head and then start doing things by himself. But the truth is, he's really trying to learn under Barry. He's not trying to do his own little thing. He's listening to what Barry has to say. And even though, because Barry was really, really harsh in this episode, I did kind of feel a bit more for him. But by the end of it, it's like he's listening to Barry and he's following Barry's instructions. And, Barry has this plan in place and he listens to what Barry has to say and he ends up saving the day. So I like the fact that he's managed to work under Barry. He's not letting his ego get the best of him right now. And it's a good improvement for his character. Hopefully he continues to get better, but we'll see. One of the final thing of the things that didn't work for me is just, they're telling everybody about the future and all this stuff, but they leave Joe out of it. And even HR's like, I don't think that's a good idea. And I have to agree. It just feels like they're setting up for, at some point, Joe's going to find out what they're doing and find out that they're trying to change the future, and he's going to be like, why? And that's what he's going to find out about Iris. And at that point, it's just going to cause a rift in the team. And I feel like that's what this is setting up for. This is why they're not telling Joe. Not because, he's going to do... No, Joe is smart. If they said that S.T.A.R is going to kill Iris, but they're trying to change the future, he would be like, okay, let me help you. He wouldn't actually go after S.T.A.R himself. He's not that dumb. He has done stuff to protect his kids before, but in this case, he would work with them to do everything they can to protect Iris. He wouldn't try to do it himself, because that's not him. So I do feel like this is just setting up for conflict later on, but hopefully not. Hopefully, maybe you'll find out next episode, and all of this will just breeze right by, and we'll get right back into trying to save Iris, but I don't know. It's just these little liar reveal storylines that they throw in every now and then really frustrate me. But the other two things that really work, in my opinion, one is just this idea of time travel. Just they handle it very well. I think the fact that you've got another show in your universe about time travelers, I think you could utilize that too. And just the fact that they treat it with a lot of respect. It's not just like, oh, let's just do this and we'll change the future. And it's not like they're treating it like it's going to be some simple problem. Like, oh, I can stop this. No, Barry, he has to think about it. He's like, okay, let me ask people's opinions. He talks to HR about it. He's like, okay, so what do you think about time travel? You write science fiction novels. And there's two sides of it. You can look at it and say, well, the future wants to happen. And I think they may have touched on this in Legends of Tomorrow a little bit. Just the idea that with Rip Hunter's family, the idea that future will want to happen. So even if you change it for the moment, something will happen later on that will cause that event you tried to stop to happen anyway. So like if somebody dies, you save their life, they'll die later in a different accident. Like that type of thing. I like that idea, and I think it's very interesting to think of time as kind of a person. And so it's almost like they are fighting against time. Like time wants Iris dead. That is the future that it has set. And possibly because Barry changed the timeline in the past, that if you think of time like a person, this could be time getting its revenge on Barry by killing the one he loves. Maybe S.T.A.R works for like some sort of time god. I don't know. But I like to think of time as a person who wants this event to happen, and so anybody who tries to change it, he's still gonna make sure that event happens, just even worse somehow. So like, even if they save Iris from S.T.A.R, she ends up dying in some horrific way just a few weeks later. That type of thing, and that just makes it all the more interesting to see how's the team gonna solve this problem. And of course, the other way to look at it is time is malleable. That one future Barry saw, that's just one of many. It just happens to be the one right now. And, they vibe to the future, and it has changed a little bit. All of a sudden HR is there too, and he's got some sort of gun. So, yeah, I like the fact that they're sort of keeping it interesting. They're not setting it up to be like, okay, so it's definitely this or it's definitely this. It could be anything. We don't know yet. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how they're going to fix it. All I know is, and this is the other thing that I think is that I really, really like about what they're doing right now. I have this sense that somebody is going to die. And it sounds weird to say I like it, but I like the fact that this show doesn't like to not take chances. Like think about, we've lost some people. We lost Barry's mother. We lost Barry's father. We lost what's his face from the first season, whose name I forget now. The cop that Iris was dating. We've lost some people that I didn't really expect to lose, to be honest. Like, it felt like we weren't going to lose them anytime soon. It felt like Eddie was going to be around for a while. Just Barry and Iris would still get together with him just out of the way. Barry's dad, I honestly thought he was going to be a key figure in the next couple seasons, and then all of a sudden he's dead. So when it comes to killing characters, the show has shown us that it's not afraid to. It's not going to kill like some of the main characters. Barry's going to live, obviously. Cisco and Caitlin most likely will live because they're key essential parts of the team for Flash. HR, probably not. Maybe by the end of the season, I don't know. It doesn't seem like he's going to die just because we just got introduced to him. But as far as Iris, Wally, and Joe, those are the three that I think right now are up for possible death at the end of the season. Like, I don't know why, but I just get this feeling like the fact that Wally's becoming more involved because of Barry taking him under his wing and trying to help him become a better fighter. I just feel like that's setting up for, by the end of the season, he's the one that dies in Iris's place. Because I don't know. I don't know why I have this feeling, but it's kind of how I feel right now, that this is going to be the one that dies. So yeah, all of this is really, really well done, really well set up too. And the final thing to talk about, just because the show can't leave us on a happy ending, this lady shows up, I guess from HR's Earth, and pulls out this little hologram, and it's HR. I'm guessing she's a bounty hunter? Possibly? I don't know. But this also could lead into something involving HR with the gun. What if he wasn't actually pointing at S.T.A.R? What if he's pointing at Barry? Like, this idea just sort of popped into my head. It's possible. I don't know what they're trying to say with this, but it's part of the mystery. I like the fact that they are leaving some stuff mysterious, so it's not all, here you go, here's everything explained, all you need to know. No, they explain some stuff. They don't explain other things. I like it. It's good. It's doing really well right now. I think the emotions are really well done too. I think the scene where Barry tells Iris about what he saw in the future, it's a reasonable reaction. Like at first she's upset, and then she's in denial. It's like going through the 5 stages of death. Like she finally just breaks down and accepts the fact that this is probably going to happen, and starts breaking down crying. I'm like, this is really sad. So it's a really good show. It's a really, really good show. It's probably my favorite out of the 4 CWDC shows right now. But see where it goes from here. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Let me know what we can talk about and discuss, all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Flash reviews, and I will see you at the next one. Future Flash reviews. I just got it. Peace out.